Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a bonus episode of that 6 plus show. I am your host, Tom, and today I'm going to be helping to report on a foreign adventure undertaken by two intrepid explorers of ours, Aarron and Davey. I mean, to be fair to Aarron is always in different parts of the world. You can barely get Aarron in England for 10 seconds at the best of times, but he's been out specifically on 40k duties, and as has Davey. So they've got a really exciting adventure they want to chat about tonight, and we're going to reflect a little bit on some of the wonderful things you can gain by taking 40k overseas and playing it in different environments and attending an international tournament. So I'm going to hand over to you, your capable hands, Davey and Aarron, because obviously you lived it, and I will sort of bounce off it and react as we go. So yeah, feel free to introduce it.
All right, so I'm going to share the screen as is customary. All right, let's bounce. Cool, we've got that, and then we're going to do this. That's not it. I'd see.
You just made your face bigger. Oh, hold on, there it is.
Well, it's not so scary anymore.
Yes, come on. Yeah, so well, this kind of all came around about from me procreating a human being in September, and I was obviously knew I was going to have restricted amounts of 40k time after that. So I thought my wife had a weekend away with her friends. She went, look, you can have a weekend away, do what you want. I could went to Leeds, I could have went to Manchester, but no, I thought I want to go abroad. I want to go and do a 40k GT abroad. It was a madcap idea. No one will believe in me. And I asked the team, and everyone was like, "Oh, I don't know." But then Aarron was like, "I you know, like in Gimli and my axe," that kind of vibe.
Very nice.
So Aarron hadn't been to Barcelona either, so we had a choice of kind of we're looking at Barcelona, we're looking at Finland as well, or Sweden, which could have been really cool.
Ooh.
But unfortunately, it was just none on the right weekends. So
Yeah,
we
we almost went
decided
to Stockholm, didn't we? But it didn't. I was away already for that, so
absolutely
maybe next year.
maybe next year. But we ended up with Barcelona, and it kind of works for us because I've got family over there.
Mm-hmm.
My work's office is over there as well, so
oh, nice.
It was kind of like the safest bet
Mm-hmm.
in that sense. So yeah, we decided to pop over there, and I scrolled the ancient archives, also known as BCP, and found an event, Hostias de Tormentas, which is it was their first ever event. I think it's the next slide actually.
I think that makes it more impressive what we're about to go through. The fact that this is their first ever event.
So so it's a debut event. That's interesting.
Yeah, so they do other events near around about there. I think there are other events done by the community, but this was their first like big event that they wanted to try and kick off and do quite regularly. So what I've done is I've put key takeouts to start with, right? So what are the big things we would take away from this? And by all means, Aarron, jump in. Number one, it wasn't really as expensive as we thought it was going to be. Like when we're kind of adding up, we're like, oh my god, it is. You know, you've got to buy flights and all that. But actually, you know what? Petrol's bloody expensive nowadays. Never mind a flight. So things like flights, hotel was cheaper over there, things like that. So it wasn't as expensive.
I mean, I think like Tom, how much do you reckon a weekend to like I don't know Leeds, Nottingham, one of the UKTCs is with your hotel, food, and like travel?
Probably in the £250-300 bracket,
which is basically what we paid.
Yeah,
and we stayed there.
That's amazing.
4 nights.
That is.
Flew to a different
That's
country.
quite sobering. Got a tan.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think just things
well.
like book it. We could have got even cheaper as well if we booked it earlier, sort of thing.
Wow, that's eye-opening. Yeah,
yeah,
super affordable. That's awesome.
Yeah, and everything in a lot of things in Spain are just generally cheaper than the UK, right? Beers, food, generally speaking. The hotel worked out, I think, 40 euros a night, or 40 quid a night.
Oh, do you remember 40 quid a night hotels? That was a good time.
Man,
that was a good time.
Absolutely. Another thing we were kind of worried about was traveling with models. Very doable. We'll get onto that in a bit. Language is not an unsurmountable barrier. So I speak a bit of Spanish, luckily, like it just because my family live over there. But I don't want to speak for Aarron, but I think Aarron, you were a little bit anxious of it.
Yeah, I was very anxious of it because I know some basic words and phrases, but I don't speak it. But I think what was very humorous is that everyone walked over to me and instantly spoke to me in Spanish.
Not one person spoke to me in Spanish. the ginger in the room definitely is the English person.
So you have the look of the Spaniard about you then, Aarron.
Yep. Even like when people, like the organisers came over and they knew that we were turning up and they knew one of us didn't speak, they'd just come over and speak to me going, "Oh, is that your friend that doesn't speak English?" I'm like, no, that's me.
The little ginger lad.
Yeah.
I think,
it was
thing
very...
on that is, and we were speaking to Lewis, one of the organisers, about this, and a big part of it is everyone watches battle reports in English.
Yeah.
The common sort of language is there, but even if you both got it reasonably basic, etc., you can communicate through.
Yes. So BatReps and YouTube channels are actually helping to propagate the spread of the English language. There we go.
Yeah, very much so. Like I had
Did you find they had like 40k phrases down, like particular kind of? Did you see these little sort of mannerisms popping up that you recognise?
100%. Someone could tell you how to wound and your armor penetration, but like they couldn't say like other things. So it's quite funny.
That's amazing.
Yeah, like sustained hits and stuff like that.
Sustained hits,
more complex words. I guess I've no idea. Like David doesn't even know how to say that in sort of Spanish.
No.
It's cool.
That's really exciting.
Yeah. It was really good, actually. And you know what? I think the biggest thing was the majority of folk actually spoke really good English. And you can imagine. And we obviously, like, we had words, like we spoke to the guys and we're like, look, we feel really bad that our Spanish isn't as good as your English, so to speak. And we've come to your country, to your GT. And they're just like, no, man, this is great. Like, this is super cool. And for many of them, it's the first time they've ever played anyone who's not English. Sorry, not Spanish. And it obviously, that's quite a cool moment, and for us obviously to be there was hyper cool. It was amazing. So
I think that's really nice. And as you say, I mean, I always find this in Europe, right? People are super up for speaking English and they're super friendly about it. You know, we know it's a bit of a language imbalance and we know how and why that's come about, and I think those reasons mean it's also unlikely to change in the short term. But I guess if it was something you were doing regularly, you could gradually pick up a bit more each time you went, couldn't you, and try and show willing over time. Be quite nice.
Yeah, 100%.
Definitely. And it's definitely an idea I've got to try and sort of get a bit better, shall we say.
Yeah, I think it always, being somewhere like that, in a context like that, really sharpens it. I had the same, I was interested in this week for work, and when you're actually immersed in it, you really feel that kind of, it actually matters to, try and understand a bit and chip in a little bit where I can. So yeah, that's great.
Absolutely. My games were very much Spanglish. So
Spanglish, nice.
I would be trying to because I would be trying my hardest to be like, no, I'm the English guy that does speak Spanish, I promise.
Are there any fun like tyrannid words or phrases that go over in Spanish?
Not really, no. It was mostly the same words over and over again, right? To hit, to wound, armor penetration, damage, etc. So a lot of it was the same over and over again. But yeah, not really anything, not anything very funny. So they had like a WhatsApp in the lead up to the event, and one of the things that I thought was hilarious is to translate that, like they said a phrase and translated into English. It was the goat always falls in the bush, and that's a saying in Spanish that essentially means, this will always happen.
Okay.
But I was reading it and I'm like, what the fuck? Like the goat? Is that the word for goat, or am I getting this wrong? Like,
wasn't the other one about the mum throwing the shoe?
Oh yeah. So this guy I was in a game, and the guy's like literally trying to bolt pistols and everything. And he says, "I'm going to throw my mum's shoe at you." It's like, this is brilliant. This is so funny.
That's so good.
Well, that's the equivalent of throwing the kitchen sink.
Yeah. So it's like the kitchen sink. I love that. Absolutely love that. Yeah. If you're getting down to your las pistols and your shuriken pistols, it's whatever it takes.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
Spain and the UK have very different vibes, which we'll go into, but it just is a different. It's just a different atmosphere. It's very cool. And obviously, last of all, I don't want to speak for Aarron, but I loved it, and I would absolutely encourage anyone, if they can, and that's the asterisk, if they have the ability to, if they can. If they're in Europe, I think it's obviously much easier. You can do a longer flight in America and not be in a different country. But I know from a culture point of view over here, like it was so radically different that I'd absolutely recommend anyone do it.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I was a bit terrified. I think with the change to 10th, we booked it when it was still 9th, and then obviously the language barrier, this and that, and
it's a lot. It's definitely a lot.
I shouldn't have had any. I shouldn't have been worrying about anything. It was absolutely amazing. It was very doable, and I think everyone was just so welcoming, so happy that we were there.
Yeah, that's really reassuring, and I think that that speaks volumes of the GT that you went to and the people there, because that's not these things are never a given, but I think that's amazing.
Yeah, they absolutely didn't have to do what.
No, of course
they didn't have to. Like, they honestly, I kind of like felt like VIPs at times, right? Because they were just always coming over to us, put hand on the shoulder, everything all right.
Yeah.
And they absolutely did not have to do that, but they did, and that was awesome.
It's a little snapshot of what I think the game can be, right? And it can really bring people together in different ways. I know that's what I love about it. I've met so many people I wouldn't have met otherwise, and you go places you wouldn't go otherwise, but this is taking it up a level, and I think that's massively exciting, and it's lovely that you can have that GT experience whilst also actually, connecting with completely different people than you would normally have done.
And I think one of the reasons it stands out for me is this was quite a serious GT in the sense that there was stuff on the line. Like, this was I think it was a qualifier for like the golden ticket.
Oh wow, that's exciting.
So like, you had to win one of these like set of events and place in a certain spot to get into the tournament to win the golden ticket.
Oh, nice. We'll find out if either Aarron or Davey got the golden ticket a little bit later, a little bit further into the slideshow, ladies and
gentlemen. No spoilers.
No spoilers. Yeah, don't give anything away.
All right, cool. Cool. Let's crack on. So, what else? Let's go on the first thing. So, this is the event itself. So, Tormenta de Hostias, as it says, Aarron says, part of the Iberian Open circuit.
Oh wow! Look at that.
And look at the room, man. The room was so cool.
Only Saffron Slam comes close in the UK for presentation. That's beautiful.
Yeah, it really is beautiful. You've obviously got the tables on the top as well. You got the tables down the side. And yeah,
loads
really
of space.
Cool. So much space. So
directly underneath where this photo is taken from is an actual like bar with beer on draft, stuff like that.
Well, we know why Aarron enjoyed it.
Yeah, Aarron definitely did enjoy it.
Aarron partook of the cervezas.
Yeah, 9:30 in the first game, right, Aarron?
No, it's actually 8:45.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
Yeah, my first round opponent, we started off and we got on very well at the start, and he was like, "Do you fancy a beer?" And I was like, "Okay, then." So off he went.
Nice, very good.
But yeah, great room overall. So at the far end, like the far corner, there was a doorway that went into an outdoor area, which we all like sat outside and had food at lunchtime, etc. The top picture, we've got Lewis in the middle, the main man, Lewis, and Oriel, who were behind him, and they were super cool. They very much like kept checking on us, making sure we were all right. The other guys are the judges. So there were 7 judges at this event. That's more than one for every 10 people.
Ton of judges, yeah.
Yeah, but not only are they judges, obviously, they are literally just making sure everyone's having a good time. And I think that's awesome. And very different to like some of the events we'll go to in the UK. And not it's just different, right? I'm not saying one's better than the other, but it was very nice. You did feel like you're being looked after. They couldn't do enough for you in that sense.
Hospitality at the heart of it, then that's great. We've got a comment as well. So Shai Rooney's clearly listening in, says all the results for this GT were really interesting. Can't wait to hear more.
Oh, if you've got any questions about hi Sharuni. if you have any questions about the results, we can absolutely give our thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, please do shoot stuff in the chat.
Yeah. We want to hear comments, and if you were there, I know some of the Spanish guys might have joined. Like, we want to hear from you in the chat.
Absolutely, please do. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it looks amazing. For a first event, the presentation there is immaculate.
Yeah. Well, actually, let's have a look at one of the differences. I'm going to skip to post-event raffle here. So if we just go back to that picture, it's not letting me go back. Go down to your little arrows there. There you go. Nice. So, so you can see just here. Can you see all these little boxes here on the bottom?
Oh wow! Yeah.
Right. So there were 64, 65 attendants. Yeah. There was 32 prizes for a post-event raffle.
My word!
So that's 1 in 2 chance of winning.
Yeah, there was like smaller boxes. There was combat patrols. Cool. There was like big centerpiece models. There was a Leviathan box set.
Incredible.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Did either of you win anything?
No.
No. It was so funny.
It turned out okay.
What we like.
It turned out okay because it would have been a hassle getting it back on.
That's true.
Yeah. But it was very funny because as Aarron says, the smallest prize for the raffle was a character, right? So that shows you how
that's
how it
so
was.
generous. That's phenomenal.
I would point out, Lewis, like he said, we're not going to do this every time. This is because it's the first one. We want to obviously make sure everyone has a nice time and has a good memory. So that's why they over invested.
Certainly achieved that.
Yeah, absolutely. But one of the things that was quite funny is they kept going through all the prizes, and obviously you keep thinking, I've got a 1 in chance of getting one of these prizes. So as they keep going past, me and Aarron are kind of like, oh well, never mind. I could have fit that one in the bag. Never mind. And then it gets to the Leviathan box, and I just give Aarron a nudge, and I'm like, because by the way, every time someone wins something, everyone's going crazy. People are like, this guy, like it's a really environment, atmosphere. But it was obviously crescendoing at this Leviathan box. And I just give Aarron a nudge. I'm like, I really hope we do not win this, because it's going to be like, everyone's going to be like, what? The English guy won it?
Yeah.
And I said, I just put it straight back in. I'll be like,
no. I
no.
reckon so. Right. I can't imagine they're as easy to come by in Spain as they have been down the road from Nottingham.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, the prize was amazing, and everyone, the faces of people who'd won something was really, really really hot, really cool.
Yeah, that's great. Oh, that's absolutely amazing. Very generous support.
So other differences, we've kind of bullet pointed some big differences from the average 60-person GT in the UK. Number one, which was really cool, super communication organization. So they created a WhatsApp group that basically went on from about, I think, 2 months before, Aarron, was it? Before the event? But they closed off any communication that the players could have, right? So it was literally like a bulletin board.
That's very smart.
It was so good, because if they needed to put in FAQs or they were getting asked questions, they could just post it in there and it'd be there. And as players,
and it doesn't get lost, does it? Then you've just got the record of all the things that are relevant.
Absolutely,
That's
you can just go back and crawl through. So really cool. And of course, it wasn't just information; it was very much banter, loads of just basically event hype, which was super cool. So. And that's why if you are listening to us now, why don't listen to the podcast after us, where the guys will be talking about the GT or the RTT that I ran at the weekend, where I used a lot of the best practice from this event.
He did.
So I actually did the WhatsApp thing here, copied the guys, and it was really useful. In terms of organization, you saw the room; it was super organized. The only thing that I would say, Aarron, and I don't know what you think, but there was no pairings until the day of the event, which was really weird for us, because we were itching the night before.
Isn't it? Yeah, that's interesting.
5 minutes before the round started.
I think you could make the case that is more meritocratically sound.
Yeah,
I think you could very easily make that case, because I think I often find this with especially UKTC events. If you hit a very good player round 1 or round 4, that's disproportionately tough, because they have a lot more time to think through how they're dealing with you, what you do. If you're playing something unusual, all that advantage is gone, because they've got 8 hours to think about it overnight, or they've got the week running up to think about it. And so certain rounds, that early release hurts players, and hurts you, and sometimes it doesn't matter at all, but sometimes it really does. So having the same turnaround for each round, even if that does mean it's very late in the day, kind of feels fairer to me.
It does.
Yeah,
I agree.
I think at first it was the alien feel of it that made us go a bit like, hang on a minute.
Oh, of course. It's not. It's uncomfortable, right? We're very used to having, and it's quite fun to stew over that pairing, right? I know we all enjoy it and chat about it in the group and all that stuff. It is fun. I don't know that it's fair.
Like I say, so I think it works better this way.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. It was very fun, but again, I remember the night before, oh God, when are these parents coming?
I've got to get my parents, man.
You got to get your parents. Again, we've mentioned it before, but many judges. It was really cool, just having that feeling of you're not bothering anyone. You don't have to run to the other side of a hall to ask a question. There was someone literally you wouldn't even need to shout. You'd be able to say, "Hey, can I ask you a question?" Everyone had laser pens. There was I'd never met anyone without a laser pen, and I think you sometimes get them in the UK, right? Sometimes people have them, but every single person had them. Everyone seemed more kitted out with all the stuff that you need, which was interesting. I think everyone had a clock, so I just think it was everyone's very kitted up.
Yeah, super cool.
Obviously, the post-event raffle, which we talked about, there was really good prize support as well. So one of the prizes as well was a demon prince that had been painted by one of the really great painters, which was really smart.
The new sexy model. That's amazing. Yeah. That's very cool.
What did he call it, Aarron? They called it a
yummy demon prince.
A yummy demon prince.
Which was really fun. And then obviously they also give you a gift bag at the start, which I was going to add a photo to the presentation, but the gift bag was a cup, which I've got here. Hang on. Oh. So we got a cup.
Oh, with the Space Marine on. Nice.
Yeah, with the Space Marine on. So this was what you filled your beer up all weekend with. And Cokes or whatever. And you also got dice, you got markers.
So that's sort of recycling friendly as well. That's nice.
Absolutely. So they were very cool on that as well.
Yeah, you got like a bottle opener with the logo on as well.
Look
a couple of dice. And then a
Stash
little bag of tokens and that.
Yeah.
And that was just as we walked in. So that was super, like, in terms of like you arrive at an event, and if you compare that to a UKT, I don't want to slag a UKTC, I love the UKTC. But if you slag it on most events, let's be honest, you just go straight to your table, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's always there's a few in the UK that really amp up the ceremony. And I think the big ones have improved at this. I think Zach, for example, makes a lot more effort at the end of events, especially to try and get things going. Although he often struggles with the fact everyone wants to go home. That's always a tough moment for him. He really struggles with that. But that's not him. That's the players. But it's amazing how much of a difference it makes when you're at a smaller event and you get that sense of ceremony and circumstance around it that feels a bit bigger than just playing some games.
Yeah, you know what? You've nailed it. We were at an event. We weren't just playing some games. That's what the difference was.
Yeah.
And another thing that the guys pointed out to us that we thought was really interesting is they gave us lunch. So that was included in your ticket price, which is so alien to us, right? We're just like, what? What do you mean lunch? So like it's a ham sandwich and you got 2 drinks, which obviously as the English people were like beer, please.
It was a foot long sub.
Goodness, I'd have had a squiffy afternoon if I'd been playing. That would have been fun.
But no, all these things kind of just add up to a different vibe. And generally speaking, I don't know about you, Aarron, if I was to summarize like the atmosphere, it was, like a UK event, but I think there was just a bit more dynamism to it. There was a lot more like energy, Latin flair, I guess you might want to call it.
Yeah, there was a bit more festivity to it.
Yes.
No, festivity. That's nice though, isn't it? Because I think that is a big part of it. It's a social thing, and it's nice to have that human side to it.
Absolutely. Cool. So in terms of traveling, how do we get there? Because that was one of the barriers that we were.
Yeah, this is something I've often worried about with getting an army overseas, especially with Drakari. I'm always like, I just don't think they'd work. I don't think that's a goer. But how did you guys get on?
You go first, Aarron, I think.
Yeah, so I don't really. I borrowed one of Scrivo's like proper carry cases. Like metal frame and
the A case thing.
Yeah, sorry, the A case. Yep. And it was brilliant. I made sure that all the models were obviously glued on. I didn't just have them pushed in with the flying stands, etc. I took towel.
Yeah.
Obviously a mixture of small magnets and war magnets. And yeah, it's fun. Like, even when we got there, I put it into the like the tray to go through the security bit. And there's always a guy there making sure you've taken stuff out, and he just, because I put it up right, he just picked it up and went bang and put it on its side, and I was like, oh no, they're all going to be over. And like when I got through and got to the pub and met David, I opened it up. I was like, nope, they're all in the same place still. The same. I had to put it on its side to go in the overhead locker because on Ryanair they're a lot smaller. All the way there, everything's still fine. So yeah, it was actually, again, I was more worried like you about taking stuff over and it not getting there in one piece.
Yeah.
Absolutely fine. Not a single model scratched, broken, anything on the way there, the way back. So yeah, it's actually, as long as you prep everything properly and the magnets are strong enough and you've got the right sort of case, etc.
Yeah, magnet game is important, I think. Yeah. No, that's really reassuring.
I did it slightly different. I took these boxes. So 2 of these next to each other is underneath Ryanair's cabin bag allowance. And so these are from Warmag. I got the magnets from Warmag as well. So big shout out to them because their shit works. You basically get magnets and it's like it covers the entire bottom of the base, so it sticks down really well. And that worked really well for me. So I bought a duffel bag. I put them in like a duffel bag from Sports Direct. 2 of those next to each other, no bother at all. Like just carrying it through was dead easy and all that jazz. Yeah, it was really straightforward. Nothing broke.
I think the only thing I'd add for what Davey done was if you do use those magnets, you probably want to put a bit of super glue on them when you actually stick them to the base, because the magnets are so strong, the adhesive isn't strong enough that sticks them to the base, and obviously the bases aren't totally flat, so they can pull themselves off of the actual base.
Yeah.
So that's the only downside, yeah. Because actually, yeah, it's better. Yeah, the magnet's stronger than the adhesive, as Aarron says. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had that issue a few times. I need to work out a bit more carefully what works with what strength, etc. Because I always have magnets leaving and going off in places, and then it's a nightmare to redo it.
Absolutely. Security largely didn't care until I was on my way home, and then the guy was like, "Yeah, I need to see what's in that bag, mate." And I was like, "Okay." So I opened the box up. I'm like, "Have you heard of Warhammer before? Otherwise, it's going to be super weird." And he's like, "Yeah, okay."
Shame.
Yeah, shame.
I imagine he was just relieved to have got a big old nerd. Probably. That's
absolutely.
Usually the security guards.
I thought I was going to crack my Maliceptor up and see if it was full of coke or something, but no. It was not. So no, it was that was the only thing really that happened.
Maliceptor full of drugs is extremely funny.
I mean, at the start, when it first came out, when the 30th book came out in 9th, it was definitely on smack. So.
Oh my word! Yeah, amazing.
And then a little bit of look. I mean, we say we recommend going. We had a bit of a leg up here because we borrowed my dad's car, which was very helpful. Gave us flex.
For getting around in Spain. Yeah, that's very sensible. Yeah, I think being able to drive is obviously going to open up the area if you are traveling massively.
Yeah, we were looking at hiring a car. It was quite a lot of money, so my dad kindly offered to lend us his.
What a start!
Yeah, so that was all great. So we'd also did. We'll go into each game in a minute, but we also did have some fun times. We did some touristing before.
Some bants to recount. I love it.
I would have, with hindsight, I'd have loved to have done the bants after the tournament, because 2 days of drinking before going to like a GT, like 2 days of drinking, because we are British. Was a little bit of a slow start for us on the morning, I think.
I do think. Yeah, I guess if you want to get the most out of a city, it might well be that a couple of days after to sort of decompress would be quite fun.
Yeah, I think I would do that in the future.
Yeah, definitely.
It means you're not like flying back on a Warhammer hangover, as it were, either. That's
preparing for 2 days of standing by doing what? Like, how many miles of walking did we do?
I think in the first day we done like 25,000 steps.
Nice. Athletic bunch here at 6++. That's what we're all about.
Oh, absolutely. So funny moments included. We were drunk and we went to a tacos bar, and the restaurant owner, when we asked for hot sauce, tried to put it in a sachet over both of our laps and just squirted it all over us. So I got all of my shorts. Aarron got it on his really nice trainers.
Oh no, not those yellow ones there.
Yeah.
Oh my Christ! What an absolute tragedy. That's horrible.
Yeah. We took an hour to get to Park Güell, a park which was fully booked. I've never heard of a park that's fully booked before, but it was. We went to the Sagrada Familia, which is, if you don't know, a massive church in the middle of Spain that's been under construction for about 100 years.
Okay.
Aaron just looked at it and kind of went, "Yeah, whatever."
Shit.
Yeah,
he likes the people in buildings. He's not bothered about buildings.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, it was. I just say it wasn't to my taste per se. Like some of it was, and obviously it's not finished yet, and everyone's own
It'll look good when it's finished. Classic 40k.
For me, there was some bits of it that all I could see was the paper mache effigies that they sort of make in a lot of Latin catches and burn. There was had a bit of that to it.
Yeah.
So I was like, I've got no interest in paying to walk around the inside of that.
That's totally fair. Did you go in, Davey?
No, I've never been in, but I'm afraid of heights, so it doesn't.
That's fair. That's fair.
We had a dinner in the town we were staying in, which was called Malay, and we were just looking around for somewhere half decent to eat. We ended up at a really nice restaurant, and we sat next to this very, I think, minted German couple. He's German, she was Czech.
Yeah.
And we just said, "Oh, we'll have the same wine as them." And then me and Aarron just kind of looked at each other, like, "Oh, fuck, how much is this wine?" And the German guy's like, "I think it's less than 100 euros."
I was confident that it was cheap because it's wine in Spain sort of thing. It's not going to be sort of over the odds, but Davey was starting to sweat a bit, weren't you?
Yeah, I'm the northernness, man. I'm too northern. I don't want to pay for anything. Like, so. Anyways, it ended up even the waiter said, "Oh, it's 50 euros," and we're like, "Okay, that's a lot." And then he winked. He kind of like winked at us and was like, "Nah, it's 15 euros."
Oh.
And then, of course, everyone coming up to Aarron and speaking Spanish, but not me. So
I'm sorry that you didn't blend in, Davey.
fair enough. If you had to guess which one of these guys was Spanish, it would definitely be Aarron.
Yeah. Well, and he walks around in shorts all the time, doesn't he? So I think he's got that kind of hot weather look. Again, because he's not ever in the UK, so he doesn't ever need to adapt to our climate. He's back on a plane and somewhere hot before he actually cools down again.
Yeah, he was born in shorts, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
Cool. So this is the event on the day. So this is the like. So one thing to point out, it wasn't in Barcelona. Like everyone, like I'm sure like Zach actually struggles in the UKTC with finding a venue in the middle of Barcelona that's affordable is difficult.
Yeah, it's not easy.
So that's why like a lot of UK satellite towns will get these events. And likewise, this was right out in we called it nowhere Barcelona. Like it wasn't really close at all. So we stayed like in between Barcelona and here, and then we drove each way when we went places. So this was the town here, and so it's very small, very like little chill place. The venue, as you say, we've seen the pictures of it already. Wanted to put the best painted up here, and Aarron will talk better about this than I do. If you want to go ahead with it, Aarron.
Yeah, so this was set up obviously for everyone to look with everything else, but I don't think anyone even considered any of the other armies. This was a converted Krieg, Death Corps of Krieg army. So if you zoom in on this, if you take a screenshot, etc., if you ask, I'm sure Davey will happily share a photo, stitch him up for that. But like, there's no chain blades on these. All the war glaives and the big knights have got shovels instead.
That's so good.
And like, there's little Krieg soldiers on top of the knights, like firing like the sort of the missile pod that's indirect and things like that. There's just a lot of flavor and love that's gone into it.
That's really nice.
Yeah, and it's beautifully painted as well, like all that grimy and stuff. Yeah, it was certainly a highlight just getting to see that, because something you'd never see like just going over here.
No, I love those where it's just a genuinely unique project. That's really something.
Yeah, I mean, I'm annoyingly, I've not put the picture on here, but there is a picture. You can find it on my Instagram of all the knights that were at this event. So I think there was about 35 knights.
Yeah, so there was 11 knights players there, so 11 lances of knights, and they got them together at the end, and they put them all on one of the boards, and it just fills an entire 60 by 44 board. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And then just to kind of give an idea of like, yes, it is a competitive event. They do take their events very seriously, but even a bit of fun. They allowed one of their players to. He forgot his drop pod on the day I played him, so he used one of the cups as the drop pod.
So good.
Which was a good fun. I was just like, yeah, sure, let's do it, man. It's all good. So yeah, really
and it looks like you got into combat with it.
I did, and I killed it in combat. I got the cup down to 3 wounds, and then I killed it in combat.
Amazing.
And then, if you were interested in terrain, this was the table layout. Apologies, my camera skills are shocking, but you can hopefully get an idea of what the terrain was like here.
Yeah, this looks like a good 10th terrain set to me, I have to say, as a starting point. I think it's decent.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think the one thing, like, so a couple of things on this piece, it wasn't on this particular layout, but you see the ruins in the bottom right here, like that were 2 separate pieces, and on the second day, they split them out, so there was like a walkway between them.
Okay.
And they'd done it so armigers could walk through that as well, so that it wasn't as blocking, because there was quite a lot of terrain here. The one thing I would say, like, about playing events, this is, as you can see, some of them have got like little knobbly cutouts in the top of them, like the ruin in the middle on the top and things like that. That makes it a lot easier for your knights to see you.
Yeah,
there's a lot. So I think like you want flat edges on the top on that, because it makes such a difference.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? That's where towering, I think, is requiring some adaptation, and that is definitely an issue at the moment. I think it highlights for me a lot of things that we do need right now. I think you need objectives covered by terrain. I think we've just come from an edition where you had to be careful not to have too many of those. I think right now having a lot of those is good.
Yeah.
I think having good angle cutting across the board is good, and that looks like it's got it. As you say, towering complicates this just because it doesn't obey the same rules as anything else. But the spacing also between buildings is also good. So again, stuff can actually get from point to point.
Yeah.
Which, it's nice.
Perspex spaces as well is a nice touch. I know they do that in the
State. I think that's something a lot of TOs are going to have to do, where we want to have this nice sort of shaped stuff, but I think we do need perspex spaces with the current rule set just for clarity over where things are and what's in what footprint, etc., etc.
Yeah, absolutely. And
but again, for a first event, this is a lovely setup. You got to say, it's very good.
100%. I have no complaints. I think it was great. Ella Wuzzle says, good looking tables though. Yeah, absolutely.
I completely agree. They're really nice looking. Manages to be both functional but also aesthetically quite pleasing, I think. That looks like that's actually one of the old don't know if anyone ever played Dawn of War. That's one of the old Dawn of War maps underneath it. It looks like it's got the same colouring as some of the old Dawn of War maps you used to play on.
So it's made locally by a company in Barcelona.
Oh, that's great.
And if you can't see it on here, but all the measurements for deployment zones.
Oh, they all subtle. Oh, that's clever. That's very clever. Yeah.
Very good. Yeah, very good.
I think one thing that was good on the train here is obviously it is really beautiful, as L.A. Woozle says, and they're all the same shaped pieces, but they all had different paint jobs. So you had some that were Tau, some that were Chaos, some that were Industrial. Like they just had loads of different skins on the top of the actual terrain pieces. So that was cool. So you weren't just going to the same grey sort of terrain pieces every time. It had a bit of flavour to it and stuff like that. So that was quite cool for the visual aspect.
Very nice.
So, Aaron, do you want to tell people?
Oh yeah, a little rattle through the games. Aaron, how'd you get on? How'd you fare?
So I did play Dave and his Knights round one. Dave was a lovely man from Germany originally, lives in Barcelona. This is the character that bought me my first beer at 8:45 in the morning.
Excellent. So Dave was there for a good time.
So I knew we were going to get on well. But then what he didn't realise was that he gave me that beer and it gave me all his power. So I stole all the good dice from him.
Nice.
And gave him all my bad ones. So basically I only rolled 5s and 6s for the entire game and absolutely annihilated every single one of his knights. He had 4 big ones, including Canis Rex and a couple
of... Oh, wow. That's a lot of big ones. Yeah.
Just everything was gone by turn 3, basically. It worked out very well for me. It was everything I a 6 to wound with the hammerhead, and then getting the 6 on the d6 plus 6 damage. Just everything that could go well did go well, and he couldn't make any saves. So yeah, it was a great game, and Dave was a wonderful opponent. Off of that, I ended up on table 1 against Chris.
Yes, there's some good photos of you up on table 1.
Yeah, that's cool. Very, very nice man. Runs a local team as well. And again, just a very cool take on orcs, and ended up losing that by 1 point.
Oh wow! What was the sort of orc style build? Because they're obviously a faction I've not seen a ton of yet. So what was the?
It was a lot of bodies. The big thing that they did have, they had the snaz guns on the I forgot what they're called now, with Captain Badruck.
Oh, are they flash skits?
Flash skits.
Yeah,
flash skits. That's interesting. Okay.
They put out a lot. They put out.
They do. They do. That's interesting. Yeah.
But obviously that I wasn't. I was just a Tau, so I didn't have any massive vehicles that he had trouble with per se.
No, exactly.
But yeah, it was interesting. If we didn't get to start round 4. If we start round 4, then because I went second, I would score enough points, and I'd probably end up winning by about 5 to 10 points. So they've definitely got it tough, but you've got to have loads of mission play bits in there. I think he had Snick Rot, which allows a unit to teleport on the board once per game. And then a few things like that, and it's just it's not using orcs like orcs. You've just got to sort of be a bit more elven with them, I'd say. And then Gahim with his T-Sons managed to get the win here. Pretty scary. Magnus, I think if he would have shoved him up the middle, I lose that. But Gahim was a wonderful opponent and very funny. He just couldn't believe that we'd come over there just to play Warhammer.
Yeah.
And he was like, "You're my hero. You come all this way just to play it." We had some photos and stuff like that.
So good.
It was very nice. So I felt okay only having faced knights once that day, and then we didn't get our next round pairings until the following morning. And I went straight back into Rube's knights,
double knights. Oh my word!
And then Ferran's knights as well. And these were more of the sort of typical oppressive knight games. You see, I think I scored 30 points in one and 24 points in the other, or something.
Yeah, that's brutal.
And all the dice that I had against Dave, I just didn't have here, and I couldn't kill anything. It was difficult to get the mission objectives and things like that. But both people, absolutely wonderful opponents, had a lovely time. Again, no language barriers pieces. We managed to speak for everything, and I think this is the biggest thing overall. Everyone made me feel so welcome. They were so lovely. Everyone was like, "Here's one of my club's dice," and like I said, I'd give them on the 6++ ones as well. We were buying each other drinks. Like, even though there was all this going on, like there's sort of the horror of the nights, etc. Genuinely, 5 of the best games of 40k I played, just for the opponents. They were just so wonderful. The people there, it was absolutely delightful. Yeah. So yeah,
awesome.
I would happily make, because of the people that I played against, I would happily make going back here an annual thing. I enjoyed myself that much there.
Yeah, for sure. That's really cool, man. Well done. And it sounds like, you've had a good go in, obviously, in a meta that's not especially tower friendly. So I think that's an impressive effort.
Yeah, it went well. And look, I haven't got an extensive collection, so I took what I have.
Yeah, and how was the tower index to play, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, I think it's because I have mainly got a lot of suits.
Yes.
It suffers a lot incidentally, I think, off of there's a lot of anti-vehicle out there.
Yes.
So I think,
and suits are vehicles now, aren't they? That's a massive change.
So it makes your movement very difficult, because obviously you can't fly through any buildings, etc. You've got to go around everything. So it can make that a bit awkward. I think you need a few more utility pieces in it, and you've got to be a bit less tower and a bit more sort of technical with your play to sort of get those wins. But look, very good into things like Marines and stuff like that. Elite infantry, they're knights and GSC. I don't think they do particularly well.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
Yeah. Matchup. So if you're interested in my my list, it was essentially 3 exocrines. So I was building around. I was trying to build a shooting id list. Yeah, I was trying to build around. Funnily enough, my lure list has none.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
the toughness 10 is really a barrier in my eyes.
They're
T10 and other monsters are T11. Yeah.
Yeah, so, that's interesting.
Do like them for reroll ones to hit for the rest of your army, but I'm not convinced. Having spoken to, big shout out to Chavo, who came third at this event with Tyranids. His list was absolutely savage. It was so good. So I've basically ripped that off for teams this week.
Nothing at all wrong with that.
So yes, my list was really built around monsters and shooting. Tyrannofraxes with the flamers, and yeah, it was pretty cool. So my first game was I was quite nervous, right? So like my Spanish, I haven't been able to speak. I haven't had opportunity to have a really elongated conversation with someone in Spanish for a long time. So I was very nervous, and I got pulled up against Pau, and he was super cool. Could have absolutely spoke English to me the entire time, but definitely entertained my Spanish through the game. He was really cool. He had, the enormous knight with just the arms, and it's just kind of very stiff in his posture. But the guns
are Forge World one.
Yes, yeah. I can't think what it's called. It's not the dead skinny one, but it's like more the stouty one. It could see over the biggest piece of terrain anyway. Like it was just that big. The damage was D6+8 on its gun. so yeah, he just looked at a monster and I delete.
Yeah.
So the first game was a big loss. It was a big loss. It was good fun though. I think I still scored 55 points thanks to #Biovors. But it was good fun. Power was very chill. The poor fella broke his arm on his BMX on his mountain bike. So he had like a hand like a wrist guard on the entire time. So he's trying to roll dice. And yeah, poor fella, but he was super cool the entire event. Kept coming back and saying hello, how am I doing and stuff. So really nice guy.
Great.
The perfect game to settle my nerves ahead of a GT. So absolutely great. So the loss there, I then drew into Alfred Phobos, Is Deathwatch now?
He's called Phobos and he plays
He's
Deathwatch.
not, mate. So another interesting thing about Spanish folk is they just make up names, right? Their name isn't what's on. Like,
what an enormous shame.
Exactly, I agree.
Amazing, wouldn't it?
So this guy had 3 Phobos librarians, all of them in squads. So make them basically it gives them
lone operative.
Yeah. That's clever.
So I couldn't shoot anything from range. So
no, you can't.
It was a really good game. I think the problem with Deathwatch in this game is that he was kind of happy to sit in his corner and just like try and score his secondaries where he could. And then but he gave me the entire board, so I took the entire board. Here's the thing though, we were doing Purge the Foe. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm cleaning up on primary here. I've won it, like literally turned to him, I'm like, I don't understand how he takes the middle objectives away from me. But because he kept killing units and killing more units than me, he kept getting 8 on the primary. So it actually came down to 2 points at the end. So it was very close. Very, very close. Again, thank you. #BioVoz. So there's that. Alfred was super cool.
Yeah, Spore mines are pretty sick, right?
Yeah, score mines.
Score mines. Oh, I like that. That's fun.
And he was Alfred was a super cool guy. Again, we spoke Spanglish the entire time, which was really great. And yeah, very, very nice. He did whiff on his dice a lot as well, which was very unfortunate. I then pulled into Albert Ferrera's Ultramarines. Super lovely guy, like really fun to play. He brought his Ultramarines with Gilliman. Interesting. I was like, oh god, he's going to double Orthomorm at me, but he didn't. He used it for the free stratagem instead, which I thought was quite interesting.
Okay.
So yeah, he gave him a little bit more flex on how he used it. This one was very much fought down the left-hand side of the battlefield. It's the one in the pictures I was showing before, but essentially, one objective was protected on one side for me, and the other one was protected for him. So I really put the pressure on that one that was protected for him, and as a result, I just won on primary.
Nicely done. Very nicely
done. Yeah, so very cool. Again, super lovely guy though, and he was just like again, one of the really happy to play someone who wasn't Spanish, I think. So it was really cool, and I was very happy to play him. By this time though, my brain and the ability to translate in Spanish had gone into the bin. So I was literally just speaking English at this point. And thank you to Albert for very much allowing me just to speak in English. The next day, I was pulled into Harlequins, and I was like, I've heard Harlequins aren't very good anymore.
They specifically all Harlequins.
Yes. No, I don't know. You know when someone says something, they're like, "Oh, Harlequins, then they're not a faction anymore," or whatever. And it's still very good.
People like to say things in this game.
Yes.
And they do it because it's easier than understanding what they're dealing with. Almost 99% of the time.
Absolutely.
How interesting. So what does a Harlequins list look like right now? Tell me how that works.
Not too dissimilar to what it looked like in the past, right? So it was
boats.
Troops and boats, yeah.
I mean, that would score these new cards super well.
Yeah, I think that's what the thing is. Like, there's a lot of the big things they've got is a lot of maneuverability, and then they've got the.
You're not going to draw a card you can't do, are you? With that,
yeah, absolutely.
How interesting.
Yvrain was in there, and the Yinkan. So the Yinkan.
The Yinkan's going to take that up to 11. Yes, absolutely. I did wonder. That was my brain went. They will have the Yinkan in there.
I a bit of foreshadowing at the start of the game. I was a little bit confident because for some reason in my head I just had this idea.
Well, because again, 40k players deal in perceptions, Davey, not facts.
This is it. I should have. I should have. Asked.
If you don't know why it's bad, then you are not in a good position. That is a rule. Yeah.
Here's the thing as well. This is again, if I'd have known about this matchup the night before, I'd have had all evening to talk to our team. And because I found out 5 minutes before, it's like, oh, okay, I guess I just go into this now. So yeah,
it's a real leveler, isn't it? It's a real leveler.
It is.
I think like Julio, because I got to watch a bit of this because I played Knights. very, very clever and very perceptive on how he
Yes.
used the in-card and essentially dicked all over Davey with it.
It is, when it's played well, it's one of the most magnificent units in 40k.
You
It
couldn't do
absolutely
it
is.
against most armies, and he could only do it against Davey's army, and he noticed it and used it, and he'd do what he wanted to do with it, and then he'd kill a spore mine.
Yes,
and teleport it back across the board into his own deployment zone.
Absolute genius.
Yeah,
Love
very
it.
good. Super
Absolutely
good.
love it.
I'm trying to think of anything else that was interesting here. Yeah, I started off the game saying, I think you find it hard to wound my monsters, don't you? And I couldn't be more wrong. So yeah, they have obviously +1 to wound on charging as well with certain.
Yeah, they do. They do.
So yeah, it was really, really tough. But a really good game. Like it was, I think, from a technical point of view, it was like the best game I've had over the weekend. It was the one where I sat there at the end.
Pure Harleys and Incarn. You've got me. My brain's going now.
It's very much
that sounds
the sort of thing
fun as hell.
Give you a headache potentially at the end of the weekend, but you'll have fun doing it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about his list afterwards, Tom.
Oh,
I'll hook you up.
Oh
but,
no.
But yeah, like this was one of those games where at the end of it, I was like, mate, you've absolutely outplayed me here. Well done. Like high five. This was awesome.
That's what you want in round 4, isn't it? You absolutely want that. Those games, that's always when you start hitting those people who are really on a really interesting level. So that's great.
It was close. I think there was 4 points in it. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was very close.
Sounds
again.
Super good,
thank you. Hashtag Biovars. And then last up, I actually got paired into Aaron's first opponent, Dave Schaefer.
Yes.
Who unfortunately was sick of drinking beer by the time he played me.
No, ready to inflict some chafing upon you.
He took out his ire on me. He absolutely took out the pain that Aaron put him through. He put me through. Those nights where like I got first turn. No, he got first turn and killed an extra crane, and I was like, okay, here's my chance. I've just got to put everything into him, and it just bounced horrendously. I think by the end of it, I killed 2 little knights, I think, and that was it. It was just he had 4 massive knights doing, real damage to me, and Canis Rex, as Aaron said as well.
Canis Rex is crazy, right?
It's really cool, really cool. But the little dude jumping out is pretty sweet.
Yeah, I love that. Absolutely love that.
So yeah, and that was mine. So a 2-3 overall. We played Knights, and Knights was tough. Harlequin's game, like that's the one I wish I could go back and play again. And
it sounds like that's a matchup which is really interesting and one that but no one's going to have reps into it. That's why it's brilliant, right? No one's going to have played against that.
I think he was like 5th or 4th. He wasn't far off top. Yeah, so well done to him.
Yeah, that one's got my attention. I'm not going to lie. That's exciting.
Awesome. And I think that's the end of. Just in terms of key learnings from the entire thing, right? Number 1, we would definitely return.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and we hope to bring a convoy of 6++s with us.
Well, I'm definitely in. It looked amazing. I love the excuse for an adventure. It's reassuring that it's not much like pricey or anything like that. I think that's really nice to be able to do.
Definitely budgetable, yeah. And then the last thing is just be fun to. Like the game, without sounding too wanky, the game, like 40k is a language in itself, right? It is. You can play without speaking the same language at all.
Yeah.
But to see the different community and the different energy that was just in the room, it was super like energizing to us. And all I can say is like for all the people who randomly came up to us and went, "Did you come from England?" And it's like, yeah. It's like, oh my god, you're crazy. And then just like the high fives and stuff was super nice.
No, I think that's really reassuring and really cool. I think it's a bit of a moment. We've got edition change. We've got all sorts of change all around us. And I think it's just really nice to have something like this that, again, just highlights why we play this and why we do this. It's meeting people. It's going to places. It's doing things. And that's as available as it's ever been. And that's massively exciting. So we're very lucky to be playing it at this time when it is so possible to go into these interesting places and be part of everything.
Absolutely. And we've invited them over for any of our events and or anything that we're going to.
Our next 6++ invitationals.
Some of them have said they're going to try and possibly get over to an LGT.
Oh, that'd be sick.
Might be able to meet some of them.
LGT will be really fun. That's always fun, whatever the weather.
Yeah, like I think, well, I certainly felt this before. I think David did as well. I think you put a lot of barriers in your head about going and traveling for 40k. Like you're worried about your models getting there okay, this and that. Because of that, I took the town, not my orcs, because obviously there's a few more orcs and I've put more effort into them. But like just making sure you prep it all and do it all properly, and no troubles, no breakages, stuff like that is very, very doable. And like we said, the cost, etc. So I couldn't encourage people more to do it. I think it's such a worthwhile thing to do.
Yeah.
I think you'll get a lot more out of it than just playing a couple of games.
Yeah, no, that sounds amazing.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, if anyone else has any questions about doing anything abroad, by all means, reach out to me and Aarron on Instagram, and we're more than happy to chat about it. But yeah.
Yeah, how exciting. Thanks very much, guys, for chatting through that. And I'm delighted you both had such a good time. As our first overseas Plus ambassadors ever, I think. I don't think any of us have travelled for 40k before over outside the UK. So that's wonderful. And may it be the first of many. Brilliant.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I guess we'll call time there. Thanks for tuning into this special little bonus episode. Thank you to the generous hosts in Spain for putting up our lads and putting on such a wonderful show. And hopefully we'll see you all out there again soon. All right. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thanks.
Bye.